Okay, so if nobody's arrived yet, we'll give it a wee minute longer. Okay, I'll just start then, folks. So I'll just introduce myself first. My name is Alistair Gibson. I'm the Programme Team Lead here at Oatridge campus, and I'll just run you through a quick introductory PowerPoint and take any questions that you might have after the event. So just bear with me while I get stuck on this. Hopefully you should all see that. That's basically our welcome to Oatridge Programme Lead. So the team here consists of 3 lecturers, 4 lecturers, including Colin Hume, and a couple of instructors. So I'm the team leader. I specialise in crop and machinery. My colleague Gillian Gordon, she does the crops. Andrew Robinson, who specialises in livestock. Colin Hume, who does soil lecturing for us. He's sort of half-time basis, if you like, for us. 2 instructors. Mark Brownlee does the engineering instruction for your practical classes, and Carly does a lot of the instructions for livestock. Now, normally there's several routes onto the course. It can be through SVQs, that is modern apprenticeships, either level 5 or 6, and that can get you as direct feed onto the National Higher Certificate SQF level 7. You can also go directly via an NC, a National Certificate in Agriculture. That's a 1-year full-time course. That also in turn can lead on to the HNC. And in turn that can lead on then to a higher national diploma, which we do here at Oatridge. If anyone wants to go on further than that and do a degree later on, then they have the option of going to either Edinburgh or Aberdeen once they've achieved their HND in agriculture. Students mainly are a wide range of backgrounds, mainly 16 to 19 for our NC courses, 17 to 25 for the higher national courses. 25 would be the upper end of that, with some mature students. It just depends on the year. Generally speaking, there's about a 50-50 gender mix, so it's not all lopsided. Around 30 students in a class, certainly for the NC and HNC, although there are usually less students by the time folk want to do an HND. Practical groups, approximately 10. We don't really want any more than 10 in a group. It becomes too unwieldy and potentially difficult to manage. Staff themselves, we all have a range of different practical and academic backgrounds. Gillian's just finishing her PhD, so she has also worked on farms, dairy background for her. Andy used to work here on the farm at Oatridge for a number of years. I myself have had a number of years experience going back a long time through different jobs, livestock based primarily. Carly also has had extensive experience in livestock as well. So we've got that broad depth of knowledge that you'd be looking for, as well as the industry experience. The object of the exercise is to be focused on the students and get you through it with as much practical and theoretical knowledge as is practical. Now the advert for Oatridge, friendly atmosphere. We do have a friendly atmosphere in the class, in the college. We have an approachable and caring staff. We do take time out to make sure that you're on course with your studies and that you're coping socially and as well as academically. We have high levels of practical teaching. Normally we have at least a day and a half a week for both NC and HNC courses. As well as the fact that we've got the farm on the doorstep, we've got excellent practical resources there to use and utilise for teaching purposes. So because of that, you get realistic practical experience. And over and above that, we give you training in lambing so that you can go and work on a sheep farm over the course of Easter, get some experience as well as some cash. And there's also farm duties as well, where you'll help the farm staff with their daily chores, usually once a week. Oops, sorry, I don't know what happened there. So the plan is that we have what they call a blended learning. That's a combination of theory and practical sessions, small amount of online theory sessions with some online quizzes and revisions and assessment tutorials. So in essence, the bulk of it is practical, then theory, and then some online involvement. So the NC course normally starts on a Tuesday and runs to a Friday morning. It includes farm duties, so that students are on usually at the morning or a day a week, and that's rotated round through the class. Lambing duties, as I mentioned earlier, that will be evening and early morning from February to March. We've actually started lambing at the moment, and there's students up at the farm early morning and late at night, monitoring lambing and what have you. Once we feel once you've got enough practical experience on that, you'll be allowed out, or you'll get your own lambing placement sorted out for more practical experience. The entry requirements normally are 2 Nat 5s, ideally English and science. But generally speaking, that is not an obstacle if you have a decent amount of practical experience. Even other subjects as well. It's not exclusively English and science. So the range of subjects that you study: livestock production, crop production, grass production, tractor driving. I'll just rattle through this list. We do a bit of agricultural environmental awareness. We do combinable crop production. We do the administrative side, like farm records. We'll do forage crop production, tractor ops, bog standard stuff like farm maintenance, a bit of pig production, beef and suckled calf production we will talk about. There's been a slight change in the farm at the moment, in as much that there's not any suckler cows at present, but we will be bringing up dairy cross heifers from Barony, and they will form the basis of our beef production here at Oatridge. We also study soil, sheep, livestock and health and welfare, livestock in terms of its reproductive and digestive systems. We do a bit about ITC as well, so you can't escape the dreaded computers, unfortunately. It is part of modern life, and we expect you to at least have some basic understanding of that. And going along with that is any accident and emergency procedures, and lastly, a work placement. The HNC programme basically builds on the knowledge and skills from the NC programme. It's a similar combination of theory, practical and case study work. It's full-time this time, Monday to Thursday lunchtime, and again lambing duties in the evening and early morning, February, March, followed again by lambing work and placement opportunity at Easter. Entry requirements slightly higher this time, 2 hires, ideally English and science, but again not set in tablets of stone. Normally we would expect a couple or higher ideally, and if you don't quite meet the standards, we'd encourage you to look at the NC as a potential starting point. There has been a revalidation of the Higher National Certificate and the Higher National Diploma in Agriculture, and it takes on a slightly different format to what we would have experienced in the NC. We have an introduction to livestock production, an introduction to crop production. We have a bit on professional practice and skills, diversified enterprises and rural businesses, and specialist farming systems. The object of the exercise here is that there's slightly more project work, more casework study, if you like, and it's put together as you go through the year rather than left to individual units as you go along through the year. Assuming you pass HNC, then you have the option of going on to do the HND in agriculture. Again, full-time course. It's a 2-year course, but the first year would be considered the HNC. Again, this runs Monday to Thursday morning. More opportunities for project work involving the college farms and other farms that we may visit in the course of the year. Again, entry requirements are similar to either your HNC, 2 hires, ideally English and science. And similarly, the subjects of study here have been streamlined a bit, so it's crop and livestock management, a bit more about business and agricultural management, professional development as well, and finally there's an integration with trees on farms, which is a bit more consideration to the environmental work. I have to say that underlying all this, we would be looking to sort of emphasise what they call sustainable production, and the sustainable development goals both throughout the HNC and the HND. So here we have a picture of the college farm itself. This is from Binney Hill in the background, and that's overlooking the farm. Not an awful lot to see. This is our cattle shed. I was going to say new cattle shed, but it's actually nearly 15 years old now. That housed about 100 suckler cows at the time, but this, as I said, will be taken over by dairy beef that's coming up from Barony. We'll rear them as calves, and they will they'll be in there housed over winter in that shed. Practical sessions can be all sorts of things. This is just a group of students returning some sheep back to the fields, possibly because they've been in for vaccination or foot treatment or some such routine work. There's some of our former students looking very casual, leaning against the tractor there. There's the lambing, that's the lambing shed actually. And that's kind of indicative of the kind of experience you would expect. Helping ewes to lamb, making sure they're up and suckled, make sure that their ewes are healthy, the lambs are healthy, and they're well set on with their mothers. We get out on farm visits. That's yours truly, second from the right there. That happened to be Lang Hill. We're going out discussing the joys of silage on a dairy enterprise. So that also forms part of the course, that we will be out in some farm visits looking at the various enterprises that the different farms have. There's another visit. This was to another dairy out fairly local to us. Different rearing system again for calves. Gives you a different viewpoint on different enterprises on a farm. Formerly, we did go to France on a reciprocal study tour with a French college, a French agricultural college. We would like to get that started again, but at the moment, money is the big obstacle. And hopefully we can resurrect that, because it was always worthwhile taking a group of students out to France to see the different view of the world, basically. We also, in the HNC year, get students to participate in AgriScot. Normally the beef specialist there, who's second on the left, Gavin Hill, has some point that he wants to make with about beef cattle. And normally what we do is the students halter train cattle to be led round the ring. And that's always very popular. There you go, there's Kirstine, it was that year. And obviously there is the educational value to it. That's discussing the broader points that Gavin's trying to make. Over and above that, we take farm safety very seriously. We have involvement with Yellow Wellies, which is the NFU's organisation that covers farm health and safety. It can be various things. It can be either a visit, it's a practical demonstration that the students will take part in. Latterly, it's been a sort of talk followed by a quiz and a sort of brief exam where, assuming they pass, they will get a certificate in farm health and safety. There we are, there's the graduation. So hopefully once you've achieved, done the course and you've graduated, that's the ceremony there at Butte Hall. That usually takes place in August or late summer, August, something like that, following final exams. So really that's the end of my talk. That's my email address there should you have any questions, and we will take any questions for anybody listening. At the moment, I'm quite happy to fire away. So just go for it, folks.
Thanks, Alistair. There has been a question that's come in. It's as one of the higher for the HNC, do you count higher health and technology or scientific technology as one of the higher subjects?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, we would consider PE as an option for some of them, simply because there's enough physiology in that it gives students a basic understanding of the same principles in animals. So I would think, without having any great, without referring to it directly, I would say probably yes.
Okay. Thank you. A couple of questions that had come in beforehand were asking about the opportunity to come onto campus to visit in person. So just to answer those, there's open days taking place in May, which are on campus. So check our open days page on the website and book on via them. I think it's May 9th, but I might need to check that.
See if I can see that. Yeah, open day, May 9th, you're right, Anushka.
Yeah, and that'll be in the afternoon, so you do feel free to book onto that. Alistair, are there any other sort of field trips that students get to go on as part of the course?
Generally speaking, yes, we'll do a couple, at least two, throughout the course of the term for both HNCs and HNDs. Usually it's to a neighbouring farm, and it usually covers one or other of the subject areas we're talking about. So for the HNCs, for example, we'll go to a local farm, we'll look at their livestock enterprise, we'll look at their cropping enterprise, and that basically is to give them insight into the assessment that they do that covers those subject areas. Similarly, for the HNDs, we'll go to a couple of farms. One maybe be a specialist farming system, so it might be somebody that's diversified into a farm shop, for example, or something more exotic in, say, deer production or something like that. And we'll also do a visit, possibly to look at environmental aspects as well, you know, forestry, that kind of thing, as well as using the farm itself. One of the big advantages is that basically we can walk up to the farm pretty much at any time to demonstrate whatever point we think is worth demonstrating.
Amazing. Yeah, fantastic. And what about mature students? Are there many mature students that apply for agriculture at Oatridge?
We have had a trickle, I would say. I mean, it's not a huge percentage. It's maybe usually one or two a year, or two every other year, something like that. So within a cohort, there's possibly a couple. I wouldn't say any more than that. And I suppose it depends what you mean by mature anyway.
So age 25 plus.
But yeah, I would say one or two. I mean, up to 25 that would be the general rule.
Okay. There's another question that's come in. Is there an option to swap livestock module for something else?
No. You're doing both. You're doing both either crop. You're doing crop and livestock. There's not an interchangeability about them.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. We can hang on for a minute or two to see if any more comes in.
Happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you will receive an email after this event with a recording and also Alistair's email address on there. So if you do think of something at a later stage, you know, do feel free to email us. I'll also include the admissions email as well. So if you have any questions about the application process or entry requirements, then do feel free to email admissions.
Scared everybody off then.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. So I'll take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone that joined, and you know, do join us on campus in May. Alistair, any last words?
No, I will see you on campus in May for those of you that are interested. Look forward to that.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks so much.